Welcome to NFL Total Access and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Looks like the Seahawks got us all a present. It's more Marshawn. And we've got one of his teammates joining us in just a bit. Bobby Wagner, Seattle's Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year nominee. He'll be talking to Scott Hansen in just a sec. I'm Lindsay Rhodes.
Merry Christmas, Rhodey Rhodes. The stockings are hung by the chimney with care, but those cleats that Beast Mode threw up on the telephone wire when he retired a couple of years,
I remember that.
Those are coming down, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody in Seattle is talking about Marshawn Lynch's return to the Seahawks, including his head coach.
That guy.
He brings a lot to the table. He's as physical a player as I've ever been around, as great a competitor as I've ever been around. And so when you get to add somebody like that, to your team, it only helps and enhances kind of the mentality that we already cherish anyway. We'll find out how he can play and how he does. It's been a little while off. He looks great in the first couple looks at him as far as his conditioning and all of that. His weight's down. He's in a really good spot for coming and going for it. He was very serious about getting ready for this opportunity. And
2 or 3 days ago, this would have seemed impossible, but as Ian Rappaport joins us right now to tell us how this all went down in the last 48 hours.
Scott, it actually goes back much further than that, but let me just give you an idea for how big this is, how much excitement Marshawn Lynch is bringing to the NFL on BeastModeOnline.com, his site. They have $100,000 in sales in the first 10 hours. That is how excited people are. The Beast Mode is back, talking about the unfinished business he has. But this actually began on December 12th. That is when Marshawn Lynch began kind of 2-a-day workouts. You're seeing some right here from his trainer, Tariq Azim. At that point, he visited the Seahawks facility. There was some interest there. There was an injury to Rashad Penny, and Marshawn Lynch became intrigued at the possibility of coming back and rejoining the Seahawks. So he started working out like crazy, and at this point, he was ready. There was interest, there was communication, but nothing there yet. Then, of course, Chris Carson went out for the season. CJ Prosise went out for the season. The Seahawks had a huge need for a bell cow running back. So, yes, they turned to an old friend, Marshawn Lynch. He showed up yesterday, took a physical. Everything went fine. The relationships are still good. They signed him late last night. Now officially a member of the Seahawks. Expect Marshawn Lynch to play on Sunday.
Unbelievable. Not only returns to the Seahawks, he returns for Week 17 for the NFC West title game in Seattle. As our colleague Nick Shook wrote over on NFL.com, prepare the Richter scale. Lindsay?
All right, so how is this going to work? Let's take a look at some next-gen stats powered by AWS. All 3 of Marshawn's rushing touchdowns last year for the Raiders were inside the tackles. So were 5 of the 7 touchdowns that he scored in 2017. He didn't touch the ball that much, just 27th in the league in carries in those 2 seasons, but he was tied for 9th in touchdowns inside the tackles. He is so hard to bring down. Steve Wyche, MJD, any reason to expect that to be different now?
Not at all.
Okay.
I definitely don't think it. It's just exciting to see him work out again, right? And see kind of the things that he's putting his body through, the 3-a-days or 2-a-days that he was going through to get ready. But his running style is a mindset. It's not about, quickness or speed. Like, he is going to run through you. And we heard what Pete Carroll said, like, his attitude, that mentality that he's going to bring, that's what they've been missing. And Pete Carroll's been trying
Chris Carson?
It's different. It's different. He doesn't. You ever seen Marshawn Lynch fall backwards?
No, but Chris Carson
fall backwards. He's not a slouch, but I'm saying it's just a different mindset that he brings in, and so that's what they want. I think his mentality is what's going to change. It may be the reason they make a run in this thing. I don't know.
Oh man, how awesome of a story would it be if Marshawn comes back at this point and they go on a run because he's playing? Let's say later on, that they strengthen things up. The excitement, Scott talked about that, the Richter scale.
Right.
Everything I'm hearing coming out of there is off the charts. And I spoke to his trainer, Tariq Aziz today, and he said that Marshawn's emotional state right now, like, this is bigger than just going back to Seattle for unfinished business. Like, his love for the game, like his kind of innate sense of I have got more football left to play is driving him at this point. So he is so grateful for this opportunity. But the unfortunate thing about this is that Marshawn cannot play left tackle for the Seattle Seahawks. Dwayne Brown is not there. And this is a huge miss for him. I mean, he's out for the season. This offensive line is banged up right now. Week 17 and in the playoffs going to have to come down to Russell Wilson who's going to be in the running for MVP because they got to attack the Niners secondary as much attention as we want to pay to Marshawn right now because it is an awesome story. Right there, Russell Wilson getting outside on the edges just like Jared Goff did last week. MJD, and taking advantage of some of the holes in this banged-up secondary is what's really going to be the key in this all-important Week 17 game.
Okay, Marshawn Lynch, Robert Turbin. They have the guy that was already on the roster.
Right.
There you go, Homer. Rotation. What do you think it looks like?
For me, first of all, Steve is exactly right. It's on Russell Wilson, regardless of who's in that backfield. But the rotation will probably be Homer or Marshawn starting, and then Turbin, and then whoever doesn't start rotating in, getting some type of reps. I do see Marshawn getting 12 to 15 touches, though, in this kind of game because Seattle wants to slow this thing down, and they don't want it to be this high-scoring game. That's not what they want to do. They want to win the game in the fourth quarter by 3 points. That's how they want to play this thing.
Travis Homer, apologies to him. Seahawks and Niners playing in the primetime game on Sunday. One of 4 teams still in the mix for that 1 seed in the NFC. Packers and Saints will also have a shot at it, but only if the Niners lose. Essentially, if the Niners win, the 1 seed is theirs. If they lose and the Packers win, then they get it. If the Niners and Packers lose, then the Saints will have a shot. And if all 3 of them lose, then the Seahawks will be the one. Vikings now locked into the 6th seed after last night's loss.
It's a border battle. Boom!
Stay with me. 60 minutes. Let's go.
Packers Vikings for the 119th time. Cousins, rainbows over the middle. Intercepted. Kevin King at the 10. First turnover of the game for the Packers. Gives Darren Jones around the left end. Gets a block. Turns the corner. Touchdown Green Bay. The Packers take the lead. They hand it off to Jones around the left end. He makes the turn outside the number 40. 45, 50. He's going to go. Nobody will catch him. Aaron Jones has broken it open with a dagger of a run. Cousins to throw. Pump fakes. Once hit and sack. Za'Darius Smith again. Have a night, Za'Darius Smith. Merry Christmas. He is Santa Claus.
Defensively, our goal was to win the NFC North. You guys did that.
Hey, man. Division champs, man. Hey, family on 3, family on me. 1, 2, 3.
Nobody expected us to be in this position to be 12-3 to win the North, other than James Jones, probably.
The playoffs, number 1 seed, and all that is sold up. Aaron Rodgers won't play. Devontae Adams won't play. All our starters will probably
Dude, you're going to rest your starters in December if they do what you're saying
we'll
they're going to do.
We'll take an L right there. So, 13-3, boom, boom.
There's not many people who thought this was possible, just with so many moving pieces and new players and a new scheme. That feels pretty good, for sure.
JJ, gotta give him credit.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I think you also
you don't have to give him
funny.
credit. He does that so he get his code still works in the building.
Yeah, the Browns
So
going like
do you.
Let's
12-4
be
too.
honest. What? My code? I don't have a code.
All of your bold predictions that you've gotten right have been linked in some way to you.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Or
So
the running
anyway,
back position.
The Packers are right there, right? Green Bay with a shot at being the 1 seed, along with 3 other teams. I think we've talked about a lot more this season. The Niners, the Seahawks, the Saints. Where does Green Bay fit in with those other teams?
What do you think? I mean, Aaron Rodgers says, no one thought they'd do it. They'd be underrated. But they're fantastic. And my whole thing is the fact their defense. I mean, from week 1, when we saw Za'Darius Smith and Preston Smith come out, tear apart the Bears, and then last night, look at this. He's like, oh, you want to play pity pat? I'm going to crush your quarterback. He lived in the Vikings backfield. Him and Kenny Clark were so disruptive, and they've been that way all season long. This is a defense that could play anywhere, whether they're wherever they have to play in the playoffs on the road. This defense is what's going to carry them because we've seen their offense be hot and cold, MJD.
Yes.
But they can play anywhere, as can any team, as can any of the first 4 teams in the NFC. Play anywhere, anytime, and still do their thing because they can stop the run and they can run the football.
Yeah, I think Zadarius Smith came in with a different attitude. You see that Baltimore mentality. You see the way Baltimore Ravens are playing right now. That's where he came from. He kind of brought that bully ball. And I read an article. He was talking about how he learned all this under Terrell Suggs and how you have to go after it and get guys going. And you see he's brought that defense together. Now, offensively, the passing game has kind of been here or there. It's just been hit or miss. But Aaron Jones has been kind of taking this offense where they need to go. And that's the most important thing. You have two things that travel. You have a running game and a defense that can stop the run and play opportunities and get turnovers. When you have a running game and you force teams to play 8 in the box and all these things, and you have arguably the most talented quarterback to ever play this game under center, you're giving yourself a chance anytime, anywhere. And so I think Aaron Rodgers, he just needs to get hot for the playoffs, and the Packers can make a run at this thing.
They got a coach who's committed to the running game as well. We talk about Aaron Rodgers, but Matt LaFleur does not back off that running game, which is a credit to him.
Also, if they don't have to travel, they have quite a home field advantage at this time of year. Lambeau, I don't want to go
up there.
Yeah, but all these teams can play in this stuff.
You can play in it. It's a different mindset. It's like, yeah, I want to go to the mall with my mom and my sister, but do I really want to go to the mall with my mom and my sister, right? Like, I don't know, because I'm going to be there all day.
We just learned a lot about MJD and his relationship with his mom and his sister. Right. Let's get back to the Packers. They've wrapped up the North, but they've still got a lot to play for this week against the Lions, who, as it turns out, guys, have also been incentivized, or at least their quarterback has. Have you guys seen this? There's a Saints fan out there who has offered to give David Blau a new truck if he beats the Packers and therefore opens up a path for the Saints to get a bye.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Can that work under the salary cap?
Meanwhile, the AFC playoff picture looks like this. Ravens have already locked up home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The 2 seed will either be the Patriots or the Chiefs. The last wild card in the AFC is still up for grabs. That's going to be either Tennessee, Pittsburgh, or Oakland, with the Titans having the inside track. Houston has already clinched the AFC South, and it looks like there's a good chance J.J. Watt will be back for the playoffs. The Texans officially activated him today. He's trying to come back from a torn pec that he suffered in the middle of the season. Here is J.J. earlier today.
When I got hurt, I just assumed I was done. I didn't even know that there was a possibility. And then literally a couple days after the surgery, I was feeling so good. I just started asking questions. I said, is it remotely possible? And we left the door open for a possibility. And from there, it was just literally day by day, just work, doing whatever I could do. And we arrived to here. To me, the opportunity to play in the playoffs, the opportunity to try and help this team win football games. There's nothing that I want more. It's built into me. I want to be on the field with the guys, and I feel really good.
Well, to be continued on that. If the Steelers make the playoffs, it's going to be Duck Hodges at quarterback. Pittsburgh put Mason Rudolph on IR today. Rudolph dislocated his shoulder on Sunday against the Jets. Duck Hodges has had troubles in the last couple of games. 6 picks for Devlin Hodges in the last 2 weeks. On the other end of the quarterback spectrum, here is a look at this week's FedEx air and ground nominees. In the air, it was Daniel Jones with 5 touchdown passes for the Giants. You had Ryan Fitzpatrick showing out for Miami, 4 touchdowns and 419 yards for the Dolphins. Drew Brees, he played a game on Sunday, so he's on the list as a FedEx Air nominee. 279 yards passing and 3 scores in their win against Tennessee. On the ground, Saquon Barkley, a Giants franchise record, 279 scrimmage yards in their game. Arizona's Kenyon Drake had another big day, ran for $166 and 2 touchdowns. And then last night, Aaron Jones won some of you your fantasy Super Bowl, I'm sure. 154 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns as Green Bay clinched the NFC North. Vote now for your favorites. NFL.com/FedEx. Results coming up Thursday night right here on NFL Total.